Hello, my name is Danita Nolan. I am going to do my applied project over two instructional strategies to increase listener responding in students with ASD, so autism spectrum disorder. The two instructional strategies I am comparing to see the effectiveness of a correct responding is errorless training with trial transfer and error correction. So before I get into my research question and etc., I'm going to tell you a little bit about literature review. So a little review concluded that non-transfer trial and transfer trials were effective in teaching skill acquisition. Another one found that Rules was found that error correction increased steps in daily living skills, and Wilshire concluded that multi-explanatory training were effective with teaching 5 skills and generalization. If you need more information, you can go to the reference section, and it will be there for you to look for more information. Besides that, my research question was in DTT, which is discrete trial teaching, will errorless training with trial transfer or error correction be more effective for Albert, which is the client. It's not his name. It's just for HIPAA purposes, so it's not his name. To admit listener responding across a faster rate of responding across individuals and settings. So the participant was Albert. He is 5 years old, male, has mild allergies and asthma. It was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Currently, it was receiving in-home ABA services through a previous company I am currently working at. The materials included visual schedule or visual cues and stimuli from the VB map, and then the listener responding booklet. So the VB map listener responding level 4. And then the booklet was located in the storage closet. So every time we come into session, it will be in the storage closet with all the other materials, just non-touchable during when we're not in session. Data collection worksheet with utensil. So I did paper data when I was present with the client, and then I interpreted it into Excel spreadsheet for data purposes. Tables and chairs and establishing motivation operations like the car switch or anything that was a preferred item at that time. So, and then I include the visuals at the bottom. So you see that in one slide there's a duck, a car, Play-Doh, and bowl. That would be one slide or a piece of paper that we use, and we will say, show me duck. So that's a little bit of how the procedure was working. We can get to the method. So the method consists of a single subject ABAC withdrawal design when used to determine which treatment, error correction with least to most prompting or errorless teaching with trial transfer will be effective in increasing significance of faster acquisition rate of responding correctly for Albert. The data collected was we were in direct observation, and we will give the predetermined prompt and with the ratio of correct responding and no responding. So we did like a percent of correct responding with the predetermined prompt. The variables, so the independent variable was instructional teaching, so errorless teaching or error correction. And then the dependent was the listening response, so like the faster rate, skill acquisition, and of correct responses with listener response skills. The procedure, so in baseline, we will just like show Albert the visuals, and we deliver the SD, and then there will be no prompting, no reinforcer, no good job, none of that for the baseline. We would just see if he does have that skill, they see acquire it. And then it shows that he did in the beginning, but he declined over time for baseline, if you can look at the graphs. And then intervention. So there's 2 phases of intervention. There's intervention B and then intervention C. So if you look at the single subject experimental design, that's what it is. So in errorless training with trial transfer, the clinical staff is delivering the SD and delivering most to least prompts. So you see the phase changes on there. They will mostly signify we went from physical then we went to gestural, and then independent. So that's how we did it for the errorless training until the criteria was met. And then error correction, we deliver the most the least prompting after the client made the incorrect response until the criteria was met. However, as you can see as my results, the baseline, so the client did have like 80% and then when dropped, and then errorless, so we didn't provide any errors. We just like prompted immediately, and then we fade those prompts away. And then error correction, we waited for client to respond. So it shows that according to data, for those results, it concluded that Albert was able to receptively identify 7 targets in an array of 4, and errorless with trial transfers for 86% of opportunities compared to error correction, which was 69 of opportunities. And then it was both, however, both interventions provide at least a functional relationship between independent and dependent variable, and it was just that errorless with trial transfer provided a higher rate of percent correctness compared to the other one. So this is the graph if you see it. Those are the 2 interventions we have used. Discussion. So this study addresses the listener responding as a social appropriate behavior. So in ABA, we want to see what's socially appropriate, if it's making a significance to the client's life. And yes, the listener responding will help in the later on, or like in the future or present, of listening and responding to another person's cues. So if your mom says stop when you're like trying to cross the street, would you respond? Or like if you're like, hey, go get me the fork, something like that. So are you using your listening skills and then acting upon it? So the instructional strategies provided a functional communication. Both of them did a little bit, but errorless provided a more functional communication, functional relationship, not functional communication, sorry, functional relationship between the independent and the dependent variable. This shows that future studies, however, can conclude a Pressman assessment. I technically didn't provide a Pressman assessment. I already had the client as one of my case loads before, so I used that from past repertoire or history with the client. But before connecting, so it can generalize across skills, utilize 3D novel objects. So it'd be better to beneficial for the client to generalize naturally in his environment with 3D models instead of the visuals. And multiple assessors to ensure accurate fidelity of imitation, so FII data and IOA, because I was the only one doing the procedure. I didn't have any IOA data, or I didn't establish it, so that was the limitation. I only did it with one client. I could have done it across all my caseloads, but this particular client, we was focused on listening response skills. And then I think it's just like generalization is one of the limitations. So I think that's all. This is my study on instructional strategies to help me later in the future, because I do have a client. This is my client. I want to see which procedure was more effective before we apply it to the learning tree. Thank you so much for attending. I hope I answered all the questions and gave you much feedback. Thank you. Bye.